Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world, Supersonics Money Transfer has got you covered. With the largest payout network in the Gambia, you can now receive your monies anywhere you are, from Kartong to Koina, with less hassle. Yes! You can receive monies from your family and friends in UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world with our safe, secure, fast, and convenient service that offers you the largest selection of payout locations in the Gambia. Supersonics Money Transfer. We are currently in 34 African countries and counting, giving you quality money remittance services that are second to none. Visit the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today to download the Supersonics Money Transfer app and enjoy excellent money transfer services only with Supersonics.
Press briefing. But as customary to Gambians, before we start anything, we invite God into our midst through prayers. May I now ask each and every one of us to pray in our own various ways for a peaceful press conference. Amen. As you were all aware of the situation that brought us here, we are just going to entertain questions that are direct to what our agenda of the day is. As MOPSI, I want to make that clear before I introduce members of the high table, so that we will just keep to what we are here for. On my right, I have Director Region 1, Alaji Usman Ba. He's responsible for Region 1. On my far left, I have Director Sedi, HR Director. And next to him, I have DPS Admin and Finance, Mr. Jerry Sanyang. And of course, the Permanent Secretary is not a new face to you. You know him. That's the Permanent Secretary of MOPSI, Mr. Louis Moses Mendy. Director of Science and Technology will join us. And then the others are officials of the ministry. You are welcome to this press briefing. We all know what has been happening these few days, and we are not here to blame anybody. But we want to state clearly what we have been doing so that we all understand. Education is everybody's business, and it is also right and fitting that when you have certain misunderstandings, it is good to clear the air so that everybody will also be aware what actually happened and what we have been doing. We all know that we have a lot of messages going around, but nonetheless, MOPSI was not heard, and we are a party to it. We thought that it is fitting that we call up this press conference and also make our own statement. So it's not going to be a long press briefing. So we'll allow the Permanent Secretary to make a statement, and then you can come up with your questions. And then we will also respond. That is the nature of the press conference. It's not going to be a very long press conference. So without wasting much time, I want to ask Mr. Pierce, is that what we want to do? To just give a press, a brief briefing, and then we can go ahead with the questions. So, yeah, let's shift.
That would be better rather than... Good afternoon. Uh, First and foremost, my colleagues from the sector, my directors, DPS, and the other staff here. And of course, to you, my dearest friends, the media. Like Madam Emil Gomez has said, over the last 2 weeks, there has been a lot of requests from media houses, both the print, requesting for engagement with the sector in terms of what is happening. Some we have reached out to, others we have not reached out to. And because they continue to come, we thought it wise that we just have a press conference that will address the requests once and for all. Like she said, this is relating to the COVID-19 allowance that related to the sit-down strike by teachers, so the laying down of tools by teachers. Let me say that when we opened schools in October 2020, we invited some of you to share the model that we had as a sector. This model was supposed to look at what needed to be done in our schools, including the related costs in doing what we wanted to do. As a sector, the policy requires that we have 46 students in a class. That's why you have 23 benches, sitting 2 students per bench in a class. But when the COVID hit, the Ministry of Health and the World Organization, the Health Organization, WHO, brought in some protocols and regulations that we needed to observe because of COVID. And in that regard, schools were requested or required to reduce the class size from either 46 in a standard class, or in some cases where you have larger numbers, like in the Bundums, the Serakundas, to reduce those in the 50s and more to the same 23. When that happens, it means a normal class of 46 students will now be divided into 2. And any class that is 60 would be divided into 3. So therefore, you would need more teachers, more classroom, more teaching and learning materials to be able to do that. So when we did the model, initially, when we limit our class sizes to 23, there were 29 schools that would have been affected. So we came up with different methods. We came up with double shifting. We came up with alternating. Double shifting would mean that students will go to school from Monday to Friday. Some will go to school Monday to Friday in the morning, and the others will go Monday to Friday in the afternoon. But alternating is in the case where students will be required to go to either 3 days a week in some cases, or 4 days a week in some other cases. But how that is done in terms of the number of days and which class goes 4 days or 3 days was left to the school administrators, because they know the students that they want to prioritize. For example, whether the grade 12 they would prioritize or the grade 9s. That's what warranted that kind of modeling system. So we invited everybody, including all the stakeholders, and shared this. We floated it and said, anybody who has to go to school from Monday to Saturday because of COVID, we will pay you for the Saturday class. However, there were schools that would have the luxury of going to school Monday to Friday without problems. And that is because those schools' size are not as many students as the other. And that was across the country. When we rolled this out into the system, school administrators, based on the love for their students, decided to see how they also do what we call a catch-up plan, which we developed. What is this catch-up plan? You may recall that the 17th of March 2020, schools were closed until the 14th of October and the 18th of October when they were reopened. So that gap that the students lost, which translated to 265 contact hours, that was what resulted or warranted that catch-up plan, so that the time they lost during that period could be recovered for them, more especially for the students who are on examination class, and this I refer to grade 9s and grade 12. So that was rolled. At the end of the year, we requested for the data from the schools and the regions to see who has taught from Monday to Friday to Saturday because of COVID, so that they could be paid as we promised them. The data we got, we processed it, and teachers were paid by the December salary payment. However, there were some data that were still remaining because of the adjustment that some head teachers or administrators decided to do in helping their students. So that data came late, and when it came, it was subjected to verification, as we did in the past, for them to be paid. The reason for verification is to ensure that people who taught between this period or on Saturdays are paid appropriately. For example, if a particular school only taught on Saturday for 2 weeks and another taught on Saturday for 1 month or 2 months, these teachers cannot be paid the same, can they? No. So we needed to verify that. So in January, we did the verification and processed the payment. Unfortunately, when the payment got to the payment point, there were some administrative observations that they had, and that challenged the payment for the month of January. When this was brought to the attention of our partners, it was difficult for them to understand and bear with us. And as a result, there were engagements, and we requested for time to be able to professionally and procedurally do the process that is required for the payments to be done. We couldn't meet their time line as they wanted, and that's what led to the sit-down strike. So in short, just for you to understand what led to that sit-down strike. The ministry has always been committed to ensuring that the plight of teachers is looked at and addressed. And that can be seen from the different interventions that the ministry has done over the last year or more. So in brief, this is what happened, and we thought we needed to share with you so that it is not us being said in some quarters that every teacher was to be paid. No, it is not us we were selective in payment? No. It is not us. We paid some and left others? No. It is because we pay as the data comes and as we verify that those data for us to be able to pay accordingly. These are public funds and they must be accountable for. And as a sector, we needed to do that process. I think without much in summary, that's what happened. But just as an update, when we showed commitment in paying, last week, we were able to pay the remaining teachers as per the data we got. We were able to pay them. And as a result of that, the union, the Gambia Teachers Union, uplifted the ban on the strike, and classes have resumed in earnest. But let me use this opportunity to say that we have always, in the past, which some of you can bear, commended our teachers for the work they've been doing. You may recall when this COVID hit, some teachers, especially in provinces, developed some hubs to support their students. Some went the extra mile to teach all the week just because they wanted to help. And we have always recognized that. We have always appreciated that. And we have always commended them for that, which is on record. So we do recognize the efforts of our teachers. And we have always worked also with the Gambia Teachers Union in the past. We have a renewed relationship. And we want to commend them for the resumption of class after the payment of the other balance that was there. But notwithstanding, I also want to use this forum to say and appeal to my teachers and say, if there is anyone that is erroneously left out or who thinks he or she has taught and should have been paid and has not been paid, I request that they channel their correspondence to their head teachers, to the regional office, and even to GTU, so that we could compile those, review them, verify them, and pay them accordingly if there is any, just to ensure that there is smooth teaching and learning in our schools. It's out of this particular strike issue, but I also want to use the opportunity to say there was also something on the new pay scale, which I want to talk about. That the new pay scale is being developed by PMO and is being worked on daily basis before its implementation in July. But let me say, in the previous pay scales, there is none that has been implemented without hitches. A new pay scale will always be implemented with some hitches. We are not anticipating that this one will follow the same pattern, but at least we need to draw reference from the past. But in the event that happens and some of our teachers are affected, I will request that they follow due process by bringing up their complaint through their heads, through the regional office, and also through GTU, so that it could be quickly addressed within the first 3 months of its implementation for the smooth running of the sector. On that note, I want to thank you and say I appreciate your coming and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pierce. I think it is very clear. So we don't want to add anything as yet as to what he has said. You've heard him very clearly. The allowance is not meant for every teacher. You need to get that very clear, because there was a model that was presented And we have different categories of schools. And because we have different categories of schools, obviously, their mode of operation will also differ. So therefore, if you were a teacher who is operating in what we call alternative, it means you have number of days that you go to school and then you allow your colleague to go the other days while you stay at home. If you are working on Saturday, but the 3 days you were working on happen to be a Saturday, you're not entitled to this allowance. We want to get it very clear because you are the eyes and the ears of the nation. So once it is clear here, we're sure it is clear everywhere. So he has made it very clear. Those who were involved have been paid accordingly because of data. If your data is not here, how can we pay you? That is very, very important. So the floor is open. We've got a lot of directors here who were involved in whatever in developing these models and in the administration of all these things. Therefore, please announce your name and let us hear your question.
And the media house you come
Yeah, and the media house you come from. Yes, thank you. That's very important. Yes.
Yes, my name is Momodu Gajaga. I work at QTV as a reporter. My question will go to Mr. Manley. Talking about the COVID-19 allowance, which we are supposed to be paying to teachers. First, how did we get into this situation? Because it could have been avoided. You are affected. I am affected. Somebody is affected because we all have our kids, our brothers and sisters who go to school on a daily basis. But if there is an industrial action by teachers going to classes and teach, it will affect everybody. How did we get into this situation?
Okay.
Thank
You
you.
want to answer it or somebody else wants to answer?
Very much. My question is that.
All right, thank you very much. I think in my submission, I actually touched on that, but let me re-echo again. Like I said, we only started processing the payment for the COVID allowance in December, so that we have a full year. That was the close of the year before the other financial year started. So we requested for the data during in October, November from schools through their regional directorates. Like I said, there were some schools that had their data intact and they submitted and they have been paid. However, in between, there were others that were claiming that they too should be paid because they were participating. And when their data came after the first one, we needed to verify that to ensure that everyone is paid appropriately. We wouldn't, as a sector, underpay or overpay anybody. Then it brings chaos. Remember, we do not have the luxury of requesting for any amount of funds. It was based on something that was programmed and planned. And what we have to do must fit within that was budgeted. So in the second batch, like I said, it was processed. The data we received was processed up to payment point, which is outside the sector. And there were some challenges at that point. And before those challenges could be resolved, we were already in 2022. The books of government were closed in December 2021. So even if we had wanted to pay at that time, we couldn't have, because the process of government payment has been closed. So this could have only been done in January, which we did in January. But at payment point, there were some challenges at that point. And it could not be resolved within the given time, like I said earlier on, by the teachers union. And that's what resulted to the situation you are referring to.
Thank you, Gajam. Yes, let me take from this end. Fan nga jógee naka nga tudda?
maa ngi tudd Mohamed Mbaye Garba maa ngi jógee Gambian Talents TV.
Gambia?
Gambian Talents TV.
Okay.
Sama laaj dama koy sambut jëmee ko ci Mr Mendy dama doon laaj boo gisee ñu yegg ci fii ci jafe-jafe yi am yëpp defe naa ne yow wax nga ko ca biir wax ñàkk a déggoo la ci diggante yéen ak ñu ngeen ko seexal ñàkk a déggoo boobu foog leen ne da ngeen ci yéex a woo ñi nga xam ne ñooy taskatu xibaar maanaam boo leen ci doon njëkk di boole da ngay gis ne xibaar bi dina mën di jàll boor bu ne wàll bu ne li nga war a jot ci xibaar di nga ko xam su ko defee lu mel nii dootul amati est-ce que foogu loolu bi doo leen di dem ba weesu ngeen di doog a dugal ñi nga xam ne ñoo di presse bi ndax fi ngeen toll yëpp ci fi ngeen jaar yëpp ngir mën a indi ay leeral ndax mbiru këyit la ba génne lépp ñu tege ci yoon boo leen ci doon boole ñi nga xam ne ñoo di taskatu xibaar bi di leen yombalal ñoom seen liggéey est-ce que loolu du tax yéen seen liggéey gën a yomb jërëjëf.
jërëjëf. Anybody good in all of here? li nga wax dëgg la jërëjëf Mr Mendy nga bëgg mu answer Mr Mendy bon tey fa naa yow la gaa yi ñëwaat
bi yoon nag dinaa la answer ci angale de waaw because xam naa ne interview na ma last week just to ensure rek miskootuñ ma perhaps that's your observation that we were late in engaging you. But if the media is fair with MOPSI, I think you would appreciate that we have never left you in anything we do. We are not people who shy away from media. We have always invited you. But there is always a step to everything and a level in which everyone should be involved. We had an engagement with the GTU, hoping that all of this would be paid or done within the given time. When the first one was paid and the other one was still not being paid, we engaged them again. But the challenge was when they said every teacher must be paid. Who is that teacher that needs to be paid? We need to ascertain that. And that will take time. And in doing so, their time that they give elapsed. And that's what led to it. It's not because we did not involve the media, no. If we had ascertained that, because we wanted to know every teacher. When they tell us every teacher, who is every teacher? Because for us, those who should be paid are those that were programmed and planned by the model. What I said in my submission, however, there were others who took it upon themselves, who came out with good initiatives. My teachers came out with some good initiatives. We recognized it, we appreciated it, we commended them, and in that way we reconsidered also how do we pay them for those efforts. But that would take time. That's what led to it. It's not because we do not want to invite you or we invited you late. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Buba, I've not given you the floor. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm a reporter from Japan. My first question was to the yes. I visited some schools and I was told that you went around with this strike status. You said you get teachers based on the names that you have or the data that you collected. Now, is it the list that you collect from schools when you are going around taking pay, or you are provided a list by this and that basis? That is the first question. So the second question, I don't know whether the representatives of Region 1 and Region 3 are here. I will ask when the reason why their data was dead, if other regions can submit on time, so we will want to understand why their data was late. So the third question will be, at least almost a week, there is no school. How do you intend to cover this contact hours as a ministry?
Okay. Thank you. 3 questions.
All right.
You remember the first one?
I remember the first one. And he's asked me that during my one-to-one interview with him. But notwithstanding, just for the purpose of this gathering, let me say that my visit to the schools came after the first payment. It was just last week that I visited the schools. In fact, to be precise, last week, Wednesday. And the schools I visited were LK and Talinding, because they were the ones that I got message that they were on sit-down strike. And when I went there, I requested for their data just to ensure and compare whether they were not among the first batch that was processed in payment. If so, then they could be paid. And when I got that data, I brought it. Those that were omitted in the previous payment, they were processed and they were paid. So it's not that we just requested during my visit. No. My visit, what warranted it is because as the head of the sector, I wanted to know how many people are affected, how many schools are affected. Not only for the purpose of collecting data for payment, but also for planning purpose. How do we now plan for the catch-up plan that you asked, your question number three? That was one of the reasons for that visit. It is unless when you get data, you cannot do any planning or any work. Because if we just take for general or for granted that it was every school that never went to school, then we will be mistaken. But at least if we know the schools that did not go to school, we'll be able to work with the administrations of those schools to say you need to do something for the lost time. And that's what warranted that. As an answer to your second question. Third question, sorry.
Second question
you will know and you'll agree that we are always very, very committed as a sector, and our teachers are always willing to support us in our catch-up plan when we lose time. That's what led to even the catch-up plan for the 265 lost hours, contact hours that was lost between March 17th.
Buba, let's take
Is it the second payment?
Yes,
The last payment. The last payment, we got data from every corner. When I say every corner, from the schools, from the principals, from the regional office, and from GTU. We shared the data with them just to ensure, like I said, just to ensure that nobody is left out. We had all those three checks just as a way of verifying. So it's just not the data we collected. It was all from these collection points.
Mr. Ba,
Yes.
you want to react to his second question
Yes,
about
Dr.
region 1
Right.
and 3? Yeah.
Right.
This is
Thank you.
Mr. Ba, the regional director, region 1.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your question. And just to put things in a clear perspective, Region 1 particularly was not late in their submission. And we did submit. But as Pierce rightly says, the data has to be looked at. And it has posed some challenges, actually, when we were looking at the data. The other aspect is we set in two sets of data. One was for the public schools, which we have to provide the employment numbers of teachers where they are going to be paid directly to their accounts. The other set of teachers was those in the grant-aided schools, that is the missions and the senior secondary schools that are on board, whose teachers don't have employment numbers. That posed a challenge to accounts to pay directly to them. So those were some of the schools that were late to be paid, but the data was available because they have to be paid now to their school accounts, then the schools now to pay the individual teachers. Those poses a problem to some of the payments, but not necessarily the data was not there, right? So I know my colleagues in all the other regions, we do have some changes. Some teachers were left out. Even today, I'm receiving some who are saying they were left out and the head teachers are writing to that effect and bringing it. And we are collating all these things. So it's not a question of data was not collected. Data was collected, and the ones that we had from the schools, we submitted that. But still now we are having, because these are money issues. Some were in the schools, they participated in this and left to the university. Others are at the college. Others left the public schools, are in private schools. They are coming now to claim that they were in the schools in those days. So these are all things that we have to put together. So if we cannot say that the data was not there. The data is there, but the data cannot be as clean as we want it. And any data that comes, we have to look at it properly before we submit. As PS rightly said, these are public funds, and we have to be careful what we do because we don't want to overpay or underpay anybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ba. Thank you, Director. Somebody's hand was up. Yes, Madam.
So my question is, it is approximately a week before they lift the ban. That is the strike. So was there any impact assessment done? If yes, what was the outcome? The findings, if no, why not? Why wasn't there any impact assessment?
Impact analysis.
Assessment.
Assessment. Okay. Who wants to answer that?
Andrew can come.
Yeah, Andrew.
Andrew,
Yeah. You can
come over.
Yeah, you can. No, you
No,
can.
we
Come.
have
You have
to
to speak through the mic.
Come here, the mic.
May I introduce Mr. Andrew Mendy?
Okay.
Andrew Gomez. Sorry, Mr. Andrew Gomez.
Thank you very much, Banna. That's a very good question. Because what we are experiencing at the moment is as a result of finding out the impact and trying to ameliorate by actually engaging the teachers to support in the catch-up program. Yes, it is a week now, that about a week, exactly 4 days, that the children were not actually interacting with their teachers in terms of getting their lessons as normal. What we did as a sector, we held an emergency SMT meeting, and all the regional directors were summoned to go back to their regions and establish the number of schools that were actually taking part in the sit-down strike from day one up to the moment, so that we will know at the beginning, at the commencement of lessons, we will be able to tell how much time the students have lost. It will be hard to establish the impact at the time that the sit-down strike will cease to take place, because impact will take some time before we are able to establish it. But we will be able to tell how many hours that the children have lost as at the time that the teachers commence the sit-down strike up to the time of resumption. And then we will again put up better strategies this time as to establish how these teachers will be able to make up for the lost time. And I believe this time it's not going to repeat, to say teachers are going back to teach as to a catch-up program for the 1 week lost that the students actually went through. We will develop our strategies and work with the teachers and agree with them as to how we will make up for this time. I think this is not going to be a repetition again for this COVID, the COVID catch-up time.
Thank you, Director. M&E.
Thank you.
How many schools were affected?
No, we wouldn't know yet.
No, wait.
Oh, okay, so there was no assessment done?
No, that
No.
President did be
How can
done.
you go and assess it?
You did not hear me well?
No,
Yes.
he said there was a meeting, right? So I wanted to know.
And then
that-
after the meeting, all directors were asked to go back to their regions. I'm not talking about Banjul and Serekunda
Yes,
alone.
Banna.
No, I understand. What I just want to know,
Uh-huh.
which schools were affected, and
Yes.
you don't know the number of schools that are affected. That is what I'm asking now. Is that established? Do you know?
In short, I can tell you that all schools were affected. In context, all public schools were affected apart from the private schools. But we need the regional directors to give us that by the end of this week, because they will collect the data. So we don't want to rush again, and then we miss our target, to miss how much each school has missed. Each school actually missing, let's say, the number of hours that each school missed. So we want the directors to give us the actual data that they got from the regions, and then we'll be able to work that out. So it's not like we're going to rush to tell you X number of schools in region 1, region 2, up to region 6 have missed. But we know that all the public schools were affected. So that we can establish at the moment. But the impact assessment you're talking about, impact takes a longer time. I don't know if you're referring to impact as to the effect, and yeah, I think the effect is what you're looking at. And we will be able to establish that by the end of this week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just let me
that-
add up to that?
And
Okay. Thank you very much. I think to further consolidate what Mr. Gomez, please. Mr. Gomez was saying, we were tasked as regional directors to go back to our regions to engage our partners. And I'm sure all our all my regional colleagues went back to their regions and engaged the partners. We engaged the PTAs, we engaged the SMCs, the school management committees, we engaged the mothers clubs. The strike actually was revoked day before yesterday, I suppose, in the evening. And yesterday was supposed to be a school day. But the information did not filter down to every parent. Some of the parents were having their kids at home, believing that there is no teaching and learning in our schools. So they will not allow them to go and play only and sit down in the school. So they keep them. So we had challenges of parents understanding this and then allowing their kids to go back to school because we wanted them all to be back to school yesterday. Unfortunately, the information did not filter down. So we invited all the structures. I had a meeting in my regional office with all the stakeholders, and we informed them that, well, the strike is over. We want the kids to go back to school immediately. Those who were supposed to go to afternoon shift yesterday should all report to their schools. They'll find their teachers there. And then to further engage their colleagues, their parent colleagues, because they are representing the interests of parents in the schools, to inform their colleagues that the strike is over and their children can go back to school. We did this. And then also we encourage some of our colleagues who are in the outer regions to use the community radios to talk to the communities. Because we have more, in the rural areas, you have only public schools. Hardly you have a private school. Most of the schools are public. In region 1 and 2, particularly region 1, where you have a chunk of the private schools, who were actually going to school. But we have big public schools. So it's a challenge to all of us. We don't want to see the children outside. We want them to go back and learn. So that's why we are engaging our structures, actually. That is the effect, but not the impact. The effect is because of the strike, our kids are not going to school at the moment. We want them to go back. But the impact is it's a long-term effect. It's a long term, it's just the long term.
Yeah.
So this is just what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much,
Yes, just to add, it's good you talked about the issue of impact. Impact is not something you do overnight. You must look at some variables to be able to conclude on impact. But outside that, let me say when the strike was on, we also had our team of officers who were in the field. Apart from myself, there were officers who were out to observe, to look at some schools that were not going. Yes, the declaration says all public schools, but I can assure you not every public school had its tools down. It was just a few across the country. So that is being compiled as we talk. The data that is collected during those visits is being compiled. And as we get those from the regions, we will compile everything to be able to do and to analyze that and be able to know, yes, this is the impact. So that's what I just wanted to add to what they have said in response to your question.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Yes.
Okay. My name is Siri Posise. I work with Sunrise TV. That was an allegation that PSG gave a statement, video interview with Standard newspaper that, and I quote, and they said, they have not been agitating about teaching and learning materials in schools. These are their personal monies that are left with them as individuals, which doesn't go down well with teachers. If yes, you are the one who say, can you clarify? If no, is it in their domain to go for sit-down strike in case these things are not available in school?
Thank you very much. Ordinarily, I wouldn't answer it because it's personal. But let me say that I think what we would expect from journalists is to have the two sides of the story. What was the question of the journalist?
No, I just saw the allegations.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
That's
or
what
no.
I'm saying. So it's an imbalanced reporting. The journalists ask whether they have been agitating or they have sat down for the non-availability of teaching materials. Have you ever heard of teachers sitting down for that? No. No. So what could I have said? I have never heard of teachers doing that. And besides, I know the agitation that I said relates to the strike is all about the COVID-19, and these are monies owed to them. These are monies that we promised them to pay. And that's exactly what I said. I have never heard of it, but this is monies that is owed to them. It's their monies, and which we recognize that they own the money. And that was why we are making every effort to pay every teacher. Even from this, like the director has said, if there are still complaints of people who have not been paid, we'll receive that data, verify it, and who is due for payment will appropriately pay you. And it's good you brought this because I want fair reporting so that you capture the sides of the story. Otherwise, you are now trying to discourage some of us from even talking to you. I'm sure that's why you don't even get interviews from other people, because it's good to report fairly. This is the second time with Paradise. There was a time, no, sorry, not Paradise, Standard. And if they continue, they will be not getting interview. I want us to be fair. I am just even told, I don't even know about it. Somebody just brought it to my attention. And let me say that I am one person that owns up to everything that he does. If I offend you, not even any teacher, but you as an individual, I will apologize. I'll take full responsibility. I'm not the one that thinks, no, because I'm human. You are human. I can err. And if I err, I will take full responsibility and apologize. But let us put things in perspective so that we have two sides of the story, for one to be able to interpret what is said. But it's becoming an unfortunate situation. And it's not desirable. We don't desire that. I've had it. And let me just say that even this COVID, I have not even paid my staff who were out in the field as well. They are not even there. Some of us were going into classes when this broke, all the way to up country, particularly my communication unit, but I have not paid them. But the teachers are very dear to us. And I am repeating again for purpose of emphasis. These are teachers who demonstrated commitment to teach our students. Some of them devised means, extra means to support the students. We recognize that, we appreciated and supported it. And we have different ways of rewarding our teachers, which we have started. If you look at the plight of the teachers over the last 2 years, you will see a difference. We are committed to ensuring that the teachers are taken well care of. That is our interest. But we'll do it within the possible means. And I want all of us to appreciate that. We cannot be enemies. They implement our policy. So we cannot be enemies. The teachers implement what we design here as policymakers. So if we do not support them, it means we are planning to fail, because the policy will not be implemented in the regions. There was a female teacher in CRR who developed a WhatsApp platform for her students, sharing message during that time. It got to us, we appreciated. We did our own reward to that particular teacher in our own way, and many other teachers. So the teachers cannot be enemies to us. There is no way that as a sector we'll hate them. They implement it. We are out and about for them. And I want to just bring that clear.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I think that is very clear. Any other question? Any other question?
Thank you. Before we close, just to
No, I'm asking, I want to make sure that all questions are exhausted, because these people are representing the society. So, yeah, the public. So we want to make sure that they ask all the questions they feel the public needs to know. We have given them that opportunity. No more questions then? It's clear.
and maybe it will be interesting for you to engage some teachers that come to this ministry for transaction. Some of us leave our offices, regardless of your level. Regardless of your level, we leave our offices and see them through to where their problem is. Some of us do it. You can engage teachers and ask them for them to speak their honest opinion. So we are not that type of people. But I want to use this opportunity to once again and profoundly thank the Gambia Teachers Union for their consideration and understanding. The union have been very supportive, which you know. We are not enemies, we have been partners in development, and they have supported us all the way to this point. The change of resolution is because of their consideration and support. And I want to commend them and thank them and solicit their continuous collaboration in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Director, you want to say something?
No, except to thank them.
Yes. That's
So
my own
go-
director now. That's my own director now. He has to stay. Yes. That's my own director.
Thank you very much. Just like I told you yesterday, looking at the cohort of media people around us, these are very young people. I think I told you that yesterday, who are very intelligent, and this was demonstrated today from the kinds of questions that you have asked. And this partnership between the media and ministry, I think, would be strengthened over time. Like the PS has said, we have nothing to hide, and anytime we have issues, we'll call to your attention and we discuss so that it goes to the public domain. Like the other guy asked, perhaps whether we were late in inviting you or not, we have never been negligent of the media, and we shall never be. Because for us, media is our own mouth. They are our own brain. I read a lot of media, reporting, and really I'm very much impressed. But like PS also said, we are very thankful to GTU. Sometimes even best of friends can fall apart in certain instances, but that doesn't mean that's the end of the friendship. Yes, we understand their situation. They are also under pressure because they want their money. Money you have put in your budget, if it doesn't come, you are frustrated. Any of us, it could happen to any of us. You promise your dad at the end of the month, I will get COVID phone and I'll buy 2 bags of rice. The month ends, is not there. Then you say, you are all liars. These are the kinds of remarks we got. But I hope this message will be carried for public consumption. And I look forward to, as we expected, very accurate reporting. Because the way the public consumes is the way they will react also and take the message as it is. On that note, I thank you very much for taking so much of your time and your resources and all other things to come and attend this. It's national development is a collective responsibility, and it is in our own interest and your interest, to engage on issues of national importance. I also thank the permanent secretary. Looking at his line of activities today, I was even scared whether he'll be able to attend this.
Yeah.
Since yesterday I was following him. I said, you must attend this. And then I'm also thankful to Director Region 1. As Sis has said, a lot of directors are not here. They're all in the field trying to do 1 or 2 things, collecting data, and also fixing certain problems. Right? So we are thankful to you. We are thankful to our colleague directors who have come to support us, from M&E to services and Deputy Permanent Secretary. Finance is the how is the finance minister? Mamburenjai of the ministry. So we are thankful to you. We are also thankful to Director of Human Resources, for coming to support, and the staff of state for coming to support and grace this occasion. We thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Director, for doing.
If you want to receive monies from UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world, Supersonics Money Transfer has got you covered. With the largest payout network in the Gambia, you can now receive your monies anywhere you are, from Kartong to Koina, with less hassle. Yes! You can receive monies from your family and friends in UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world with our safe, secure, fast, and convenient service that offers you the largest selection of payout locations in the Gambia. Supersonics Money Transfer. We are currently in 34 African countries and counting, giving you quality money remittance services that are second to none. Visit the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today to download the Supersonics Money Transfer app and enjoy excellent money transfer services only with Supersonics.
Gambian Talents Promotion.
Jaliba Manding.
Corona muna mutonya ledi. Nkaljalalu nada ganyene fadie. Animpana mwa miliyon jama. Wale pengo ge kabolo bayi. Wangoro kan. Nde jaliba vele ninjalalu nada. Ninjalalu nada ganyene senenda.
Jali nene suso Mandinka.
Fankanta manjawia se fankanta yesi nyolu kanta minna fa fomu fankanto leti alungata
Dekndau wala
ngidomu adama vaccine nan corona lu amla fagaro gen fajo ajalel ñu dem vaccine moy li ñuy
Lena Jola
COVID-19 Epengo engole esontene Pare petanga
Sora Jali Mandinka French
Jankaroni manita Alinga katanga vaccine onyinta Soyons sérieux avec ces vaccins Si on se donne la main Fonsil tanka ni courant
Mandinka
Alingata Me vaccine me batuka Alingata Wale bentangala Na Alingata Me fascino me batuka Alingata Wale bentangala
Tata Dinding Mandinka
Pengota nyine ngari Pengota wale yandandi Kama koi
Boba Dumo Fula
Imi ime Yeto yemo Leki kingarija Nagorko madebo ime Joni Undandari
Jakos Manjago
Konora ninja Legi yange kabu kobula Kutopu yaka jeji bingua Yaka purpu kabu buru
Alu Badara Wolof
Kuni anga warugal jili Jarul tobi khar Vaccine ama jogal jeli ko Wow Aral sunure
Sambu Suso Mandinka
Ani vaccinota Ni mobe matantul mankana Alinganji jambe yaka Ule ben takana
Hambu Wolof
Vaccination di ñëw na ci suñu réew ñun jëli ko war nañoo ku ko jëlul doo am visa ngir dugg ci benn réew ndax dañoo bañ corona tasaaro
Wolof
Kaay leen ñu jëli ko vaccine bi ñu doon xaar Kaay leen ñu jëli ko mooy li ñuy aar Kaay leen ñu jëli ko vaccine bi ñu doon xaar Kaay leen ñu jëli ko mooy li ñuy aar
Papa Wolof
moo ñuy aare waaw ko jaxaate doy jaaxa
Singate Sarahule
Usuna buto COVID pengo haga kinye Usuna pengo ona pengo Je jangaro la way seren karnide
Barhama Wolof
vaccine bi du gaañe te vaccine bi du lor kenn am na ñu ne dafay wàññi nit ñe way du dëgg de garab bi du lor
Ami Sose Wolof